We're rebels, we're stronger, like a phoenix taking flight. Yeah, we'll rise up, you can stop us, dancing through the night. We are rebels, we are stronger, like a phoenix taking flight. Yeah, we'll rise up, you can stop us, dancing through the night. We are rebels, we are stronger, like a phoenix taking flight.
Welcome back to the LCK Summer 2019. I'm Valdez. With me is Papo Smath. We're getting ready to jump into the second matchup of the night. It will be GenG versus Griffin. Always a banger every single time these two teams go up head-to-head. For some reason, it just produces great League of Legends.
And that is what we are all about. 3-game series, and the great was definitely in the action between Sandbox Gaming and FLICKR Sandbox, pipping them over the line and really doubling down on their playoffs aspirations. Playoffs, 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 that's what it's all about today. And GenG, let's see how they can do here, because at the end of the day, they are coming off a very unconvincing victory over GRF last time out, and even though the history is there, what will the immediacy be between two old enemies?
Yeah, it really does come down to that, doesn't it? The recent schedule of GenG has been relatively easy, and they've even stumbled a couple of times, whereas Griffin recently coming off a big win up against Sandbox, actually, taking that 2-1 victory. So if I had to, put my eggs in one basket right now, I would say that Griffin is favored, and they're behind a couple of games here compared to the top of the table.
So they've only played 14. They actually have 4 matches in 6 match days left. Now, what to remember is, let's say they win here, it does affect GenG, but what I want to show you is they're 2 games ahead of GenG with a match less played. So they actually have a very high likelihood of having a pretty astronomical game score. If Griffin win 2-0, they're actually season parity with SK Telecom, which is pretty impressive, given that SKT's on that insane 9-match winning streak. Griffin have been up and down. Remember, when they've played against this team in the past, it's been with Sword in the lineup, and they're still really trying to understand what bringing a lane-focused top laner does to Griffin as a whole, because you can't replace one player with a different style player and not change the entire vibe.
Yeah, it is a developing Griffin right now. That is no question at all. And I mean, if I look at this match on paper and I wanted to bet on it, I would just avoid it. I'd say I don't really know who can take this right now. GenG up against weaker competition, but you never know when they're going up against Griffin, and Griffin changing so much. We have 4 match points this time around. It's God versus King on the bottom. God of the Rift Peanut versus King of the Jungle Tarzan. There's that jungle matchup also. A lot of weird picks from the side of GenG, especially from Fly. We've seen Veigar, we've seen Lux, we've seen a lot of Vel'Koz coming back. It's, of course, pointing at the Volibear as well.
That was the first time these two teams faced, was the debut of Volibear's support with the Kalista. So those new picks, those Joker picks, can be really important. And at the end of the day, we just want to get to the game here between the two. Griffin have come up short against GenG time and time again, and we had a chance to talk to Arnold, the COO, Chief Operating Officer of GenG before, and he was handing out cheerfuls, he was handing out freebies. You can tell they're trying to find whatever positive vibes they can, because if GenG win, they're basically in playoffs in almost every scenario. If they lose, things get oh so much more complicated.
You take a look at some of the stats here. Win rate with First Blood is actually incredibly high here, 85%. I'm not sure what that tells me. Maybe, when they get off to a good start, they look good. Or maybe it's just when they're on their game, they win their games, right? And generally, when you're on your game, you're going to be picking up First Bloods and all those other objectives.
Of any team in the LCK, we know what a GenG win looks like, right? It builds very logically. But in the early game, they sometimes just mess up, or the enemy team plays very well, and they can never enact that sort of game plan. So I think it does track with what we see on the Rift. Is speaking of what we see, we got to see the happy fun times with the Veigar. I think you just have to ban this champion. It's nice to try to be creative against it, but whenever you have an AoE stun that opens up an entire choke and makes it so the enemy can't walk through, it's just so damn frustrating to deal with.
You talk about the picks, you also got to mention all of their individual players. Ruler, obvious. I mean, this guy, world champion MVP, was a big part of the reason why they were able to stay around and make it through gauntlets and do all that other stuff. His support light coming up in a big way as well, so keep your eyes on that bottom lane for them. Never forget. So we're also going to take a look some Griffin highlights here. Chovy was able to get his Akali back in one of these games. Not sure how that was possible, but they did end up winning this one.
It does seem pretty clear that it was a Akali buff with the changes. Yes, she can't do the BS stuff she can do on the turret. She has to be a little bit more accountable there, but damage-wise, she does a whole lot of damage. This was the 2-1 victory over Sandbox for Griffin. Watch this one in the talent room over in the LEC, and it was weird and wonderful, but enjoyable to watch. And yep, I think if you've got Akali players, don't let them have Akali. She's real good.
Yeah, Dove and Chovy obviously are two of those that immediately come to mind. Obviously, Showmaker as well. There's another one that's making a name. And more Corki. We talked about how in the first series, those weren't really teams that were going to play Corki Azir, but this could definitely be a matchup where we see more of that Corki Azir.
I'm hoping this is a matchup that's super competitive because Peanut has started to build kind of after that Griffin victory is when things start to slide into position. Tarzan's numbers are good, but this has definitely been his weakest split in the LCK out of the 3 that he's played. And a lot of games where he's kind of been farming and nothing really happened. And that's kind of been Peanut's biggest criticism on GenG this year. So we know what a great Tarzan game looks like. We don't question his potential as a player, and when his team is in sync, things come together. But when you add an extra carry, it's another lane he has to visit, and I feel like he hasn't been as able to dictate the pace of games like he was in the past. Also important note, Roach closed out that victory over Jinair.
Yeah.
It will be CuVee playing game number 1.
Roach came in after game 1. They're like, CuVee, I'm sorry, take a seat. You just lost to Jinair. And he ended up winning 2 of those games, so shout out to him. We'll see if he does come out later today. But would require a loss from GenG at first, I'd have to imagine, as the GenG fans, ravenous as ever, to get into the League of Legends.
I think we're all there joining them as Kuzan featured prominently, was a main event player in the first round robin ever since Rift Rivals has been on the sidelines. That first round robin game between Griffin and GenG, you'll remember, Valdez, was after Rift Rivals, one of the final games of the first round robin. That's when the Volibear came out. GenG looked like they'd leveled up with their time away, waiting and watching other teams play at Rift Rivals like Griffin, who probably want to forget that tournament and a lot of the results after Rift Rivals.
Yeah, they've been able to claw their way back after that little bit of a dip in their performance, and they're back with a new player in the top lane who is becoming less and less new the more we do see him here, as also known as the poor little guy that was crying that we did feature in our break videos. Hope he's feeling better and more confidence coming into this one, because they're going to need a confident and dominant top laner.
Bad news for Doran is this has always been a very high-stress fixture, Griffin versus GenG.
Yeah.
So he's making his debut into a rivalry that is a little bit unsung. That's what I called it on Twitter. It's not world-renowned. It's not a telecom war, for that matter. But it's one where these two teams are always kind of around the conversation. Not so much GenG in spring of this year, but historically, definitely. They are double world champions across 2 different rosters, after all. But it's always really, really high pressure and really, really great games. Like, if we're going to talk about match quality, this is the 5-star epics between these two.
Always.
Doesn't matter how many games, whether it's 2 or 3. Tarzan wiping off the glasses, having a couple of chats to our support staff here. Wonder what we'll see today. Will it be the greatest hits of Chovy's Akali versus Fly's Veigar? I guess that could happen. Will there be some new stuff? A couple of points of interest that I'll talk about in terms of solo queue, because there's actually some solo queue stories to tell. Peanut in much better form as the season has gone on. Not flawless, but has been improving.
No surprise, it's part of GenG. They always get better at the end of summer.
But had they got better too early because the gauntlet is still weeks away, maybe they want to skip the gauntlet and just win the damn summer season. Remember that Samsung Galaxy, ever since they were put into one org after white and blue combined, have never won LCK, and even worse than that, they have never even made an LCK final.
And they would need to win that final. They did not make it into, okay, this is apparently the shoulders of Viper, right? Massively wide and thick Viper there on that sign. I just could not help but get distracted by that. But they would have to win Summer. They're not going to have enough points. Griffin is going to make playoffs and win on points, you know. And if not Griffin, then SKT, of course, would win on points. So it's either win there or win the gauntlet. Maybe they can do it on the backs of this guy.
And even though CuVee's been there longer, Ruler, with all the plaudits he gets, this guy is one of the best AD carries in the world in a landslide. Fantastic player.
Absolutely.
He's a world champion. He's a world champion MVP, and yet he's never made an LCK final. And you know that probably eats away at him, because winning in front of your home fans would be the ultimate blessing for a player. Ruler's still trying to get there. It's Griffin versus GenG. This is going to be high.
We're getting into it, guys. Right now, GenG on the blue side. We've seen a lot of blue side wins in recent times, especially tonight. But we talked about that Akali. It's immediately going to be taken off the table.
Now, solo queue-wise, some interesting stories. Tarzan, no surprise, he's first. He's been first forever. Viper has 2 accounts in top 5 of solo queue. I haven't seen that from anyone other than Tarzan for quite a while. So Viper himself been playing a lot of Jinx also, which is pretty hype. The Deft Spirit Animal champion has been next to Ezreal, his most played across 2 accounts. So, wonder what that means for this particular draft. The Veigar is open. That's going to be one that's definitely going to be considered as Corki ban. Interesting. Blue side Corki ban. We saw Corki fall through picks and bans multiple times in our first series, but remember, it didn't fit the style of what those 2 teams wanted to play. The style adjustments come in, like you alluded to, Valdez.
Yeah.
Camille going to be banned.
Entirely different pick ban already. And Yumi makes it through. That's not what we were seeing at all in the beginning of today.
Bullet Hell bot lane was popularized by Griffin, the Lucian, and Yumi. And it's the sort of lane where Ruler has a really short leash in order to play League of Legends, so I don't mind stealing away the Yumi. Lehends is a god tier Yumi, probably the best in the world. I'll go and point it there as, wow, we're stealing the trademark picks from each other.
Just, they really love this polar bear, and I guess they want to start off with their bottom lane. You get some CC, you get a Kai'Sa in there. People say, you know, the Alistar is good as well, but they leave up so much when you do that. I mean, the Skarner gets immediately picked up. It's one of the very popular picks for Peanut nowadays in 2019, and they're going to go with Xayah Yumi into the bottom lane.
See, the problem I saw, though, is when you see Peanut lock in Sejuani, you think of his win rate, like, okay, yeah, love it, really good with the Camille, Fiora, etc. They don't really play any of those champions that you first round with Sejuani to get a guaranteed winning lane, Valdez, if you think about it, because you don't think of CuVee Fly as Aurelia players. Yes, the GP, I guess. But
He's got a sword.
It's not quite the same, right?
Yeah.
You see them more as kind of double range with a Gnar and some crazy mid lane pick, rather than necessarily great synergy with Sej, and that means that Sej is less likely to perform than having those perma-camp lanes like Camille, Fiora, Aurelia. It also means they're going to take multiple bans here, so to get the Xayah, they'll probably lose Rakan, but they got Yumi, so they're fine.
I really love that Sejuani pickup. You denied Tarzan, who's a big Sejuani player. Peanut's 8-2 on the pick. We'll see if it actually continues along those lines, as now looks like we're targeting the top lane, as you can't really ban out Fly, can you?
But we are cracking down on piracy. It's no laughing matter, so Gangplank, Assault Water,
You wouldn't download a car, right, Papa Smithy?
I mean, if I could, like, we got pretty fast internet here.
I wonder how long that would take.
Probably not that long in Korea.
Probably a lot of data, though. I don't know. Maybe you should try it.
I'll keep my options open on that one, but piracy in this particular game on the side, and the Tristana ban actually here sent against GenG does seem like a blind pick, doesn't it? But I believe they might have played. There's been a couple of games of bot lane Tristana as well. I'm not sure entirely clear on if GenG played one of those games. But zooming along in the pick ban here, notable Veigar still open, so they're happy to see it. Apparently on the side of Griffin.
Oh boy. Is it going to be the Olaf return here? He hasn't been our favorite son in the LCK nowadays, as he's pretty much disappeared. And we're going back to another AP jungler that can get pretty aggressive. The Elise taken here for Tarzan.
CuVee is so ready for a Mundo meta, I'll tell you that much.
Fly's got a smile on his face.
Oh, is there going to be something crazy here? We're waiting to find out. Fly does play LeBlanc. That's a champion that he has played in the past and might be one to consider. It's going to be Lissandra. Going to go back to an oldie. I won't call it a goodie. It was buffed on patch 9.15.
What?
It's safe. It means they don't have to play around mid lane, and it can potentially go and hit side lanes. It's going to be double range with Sejuani, so Papa Smithy is tilted.
I was just waiting for, like,
No.
Vel'Koz, some kind of weird
It's
Veigar.
blind.
He's like, let's go back to this champion.
But how does GenG lose to Griffin? Blind picking a mid laner like that, and then Chovy getting the right matchup and schooling. Like, Chovy's laning stats are still unbelievable. Like, he's a very good laner, even if his summer season as a whole has been on the weaker side. I'm still distracted by saying Papa on Chovy's jersey.
This is Pop on this jersey.
That is one of their sponsors.
On the
Apparently,
left.
they're a vehicle-related company.
He's calling out to you.
Well,
Okay.
Jace was calling out to the side of Griffin.
It's a quick lock-in.
I guess that's going to be Jace mid, most likely, into the Lissandra. Lissandra hates this matchup. Getting outranged as Lissandra is sad, sad time. And the on-hit Kennen versus the probably on-hit Nico. We'll see which side is superior, Valdez.
The fans, they want revenge. They absolutely do. Griffin, this time around, going with a very cool draft. I feel like they have a bit more of the cool tools, whereas GenG has kind of gone very standard, even back to the old safety picks, such as Lissandra. You got that glacial synergy, although TFT jokes are kind of, they've lost their flavor. I feel like the game has been out for long enough.
Bit passé when you have
Yeah.
entire glacial comps being played in NALCS and entire pirate comp being played in NA Challenger or NA Academy. Let's see, because you look at the Griffin draft and you think it's going to have to be a side lane game from them unless it's an AP Kennen. And we don't really expect AP Kennen, yet there's always the outside chance. Also some strong side laners and safe side laners on the side of GenG, but the Xayah teamfighting seems to be real. Something kind of nefarious about the bear and the cat swapping roles. Their usual owners have had to have a stay of arms and have agreed to a swapsies, and only one can come out the victor.
This is going to be a fun one, guys. Make sure you get out there, tell your friends. GenG versus Griffin is on. Always a very entertaining matchup, and should be just as exciting here. Excited to see Chovy on that Jace, as looks like we're going to have a little bit of a pause here.
Not Peanut's mouse, please. No, I hope it's not the mouse issue. That's all I'm going to say.
It's okay, he brought him a controller.
I think
Gonna
that's
have to
the
play
audio thing, right?
He's going to have to play the game on an Xbox controller. That's
Seems
his
like
punishment.
The game didn't load correctly on Peanut's computer. He's keeping his smiles on. He was in the English Twitch chat in the first series.
Yeah.
I guess he's practicing his English, and from what I'm guessing, he probably enjoys all the different memes, because the biggest difference in the Korean and English stream, apart from obviously commentary language, is a lot more of the emoticons used, a lot more of those emotes used on the English side.
Yes. I feel like it's very easy to translate your message or your emotion by just putting a face, you know. Just think
Speaking of
about Kappa.
faces, what is CuVee doing?
It looks like he's blowing on a handkerchief that says "Lulled Cup."
There you go.
I figured it out, guys. There you go.
Or he's vomiting out the World Cup, which is a very different thing.
Yeah.
Some shock on the right side here, and some potential eyes being covered, it seems like.
That was the TFT thing they had with the rolling and on the bottom right.
There's some One Piece and Griffin synergy going on here. It's a really good drawing.
Yeah.
I actually forget
These are some
the name
older
of the-
fans too. I wonder, perhaps some parents here in the crowd.
Whoa! What's going on there on the right side?
That is obviously Cloud Templar.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah.
We got some translations happening in front of us, but they're all a little bit crazy.
Griffin is my endorphin.
My drug, basically.
Maybe. We
Korean
still,
League of Legends is my
still
drug.
don't know
I'm
what-
horribly addicted. It's
what
been 4.5 years
that
so
is.
far. I overdosed last year. I had to take a step back.
You were doing it way too often.
I
man.
was.
6 times a week.
You were an enabler, Valdez, 2 times a week, all right?
All right, well, we got the little animal here. Let's get the fan chants. Okay, we're back into it. We got you hooked up again, Papa. Don't worry.
This is the good stuff here between
Yep.
GenG and Griffin. Get the confirmation is on-hit versus on-hit. Who will be the superior on-hit warrior that probably should be an ability power champion that Riot can't be that happy with? In the top lane is the question with the double press the attack, and it's going to be an ultra side lane game. This feels like the guerrilla warfare is going to be super real. Shout out to Gorilla, who I had sushi with the other day.
Yeah.
But in particular this game, it's a lot of Kai'Sa swooping in and Elise and Sejuani swooping in. Sejuani doesn't have a melee lane to gank for anywhere. In fact, there is no other melee champion on our team, not even a support, as Griffin loading up for a late invade. They will have a sweeper on this one if they want it.
Coming in now. You see that Sejuani is on the top side, so already it seems like GenG has got the read on this.
I mean, the moment you see a defensive wall being swept, you go and put down reverse
But
vision.
he was like standing all the way up there. Maybe he, well, there were like 30 seconds left. He probably could have gotten back for the red, so. Just covering the vision up in the top side to start, and Griffin getting a little bit of inspiration, perhaps, from FLICKR earlier on today. He's going to go ahead and go for that invade.
Griffin pulled off the coolest level 1 strat we've seen in years, if you'll remember. I think it was spring season where they faked that they were invading and then actually picked up a kill on the top side when the reverse invade happened. Peanut doesn't befall. The same thing as other runes 1-to-1 the same? No, actually. CuVee has gone last stand for potentially an ult debate, and it is the standard coup de grace on the side of Dora.
And we're chasing
Get
down
in.
Tarzan now, okay.
Giving up lane control to do this.
Notice what Peanut did. He took the red and immediately backed. You don't always see that. I mean, sometimes you can stick around the top side jungle, you know, just go for vertical jungling, maybe take Raptors, something like that. But he's like, no, I want to reclaim my own kill.
I guess the reason for doing that is they were kind of hoping that Elise would take Raptors path down to Krugs and they could like wham bam him at the Krug camp with Roller walking down. That wasn't to be. Elise hates taking the Raptors, so skipped over that camp, so there was no capture here, and it does mean that there will be less camps picked up.
We're going. It's level 1. They're not wasting any time. Flash goes in, and 3 summoners are blown there for 2 in favor of Griffin.
You'll take that, given that now Viper actually is going to have the only flash in the lane and the only teleport, I guess, to get back. Notice that Ruler went the most selfish of the summoners here. They have heal barrier in order to stay sturdy around that. When is the last time we saw barrier on an AD carry?
It really doesn't happen too often, and Tarzan is back.
Griffin loved turret diving with Elise. They tried to do this with the Talia Pantheon and failed against SKT in the final, but it's usually their standard playbook. They want to play a bot side game, and it does give us some more insight into why Peanut re-invaded early. Because if not, basically every minion wave will be frozen and then slow pushed, and then Elise is there to reset aggro and turret dive. They don't want to fall into that trap. But for once, it's an honest Yuumi lane, because with no TP, they actually have to walk back, and the no boots is actually going to hurt life.
As Peanut trying to make the quick rotation over here. Let's see if he can get this one down. He has the smite. Tarzan Cocoon easily dodged. But Tarzan just confidently strutting into the enemy jungle as Peanut says, you can have it.
The cost of protecting bot lane, cost of doing business is going to be not many camps, Valdez. This entire jungle outside of the Grump has been cleared, and he doesn't have access to his Grump camp right now. Jace can walk up first with his extra mobility, and also the Kennen has to your camps for now. Peanut, his level 6 is going to be significantly delayed, and he needs it, Valdez. We've talked about it a couple of times. The lane synergies to gank here with 2 ranged opponents is minimal at best.
Peanut's route here is so all over the place.
He wants to find a camp, Valdez. He
He's
can't
like,
get to any.
Please, sir, can I have one camp? I've only taken 4 of them on the map right now.
He's just destroyed his own jungle thoroughly in order to try to save a Xayah with barrier. And it's not right or wrong, it's a decision that's been made, but the cost with how Griffin have taken advantage of it is insane. He's only getting his 5th camp now.
He finally, came back down here to the Krugs. There's a ward that spotted him there too, actually, a zombie ward. Left over. We don't want to see this mid lane. It's Lissandra. I'm a little bit salty, as you guys can tell, about the return of Lissandra, but with the buff, as you mentioned, maybe we'll see it a little bit more here in the mid lane.
I don't think Fly would ever blind pick Veigar against Chovy. This is one guy who can really make you look silly in the mid lane, in or out of form. He's very, very good in lane, so he's found another safe champion to try to wave clear with. And that's going to be his decision here. Chovy with the counter pick has gone the Jace to outrange and also to give the team a bit of siege.
Cool idea overall. Chovy just not really getting aggressive on it, just wants to make sure he hits all of his minions, as he is doing pretty good so far in terms of the farm in the mid lane. Led by 8 here.
Definitely pressure LS to bot review this game, because he'll have some things to say about the jungle pathing. We've communicated with why, but the other question is, if you're gonna go heal barrier, no teleport, does the Sejuani also have to be there? Like, is that level of respect? That's ultra respect, right? This is not enough. We still need the jungler on this side to stop the dive as well. It's kind of the most interesting thing to talk about, because it's basically the jungler holding up his hands and saying, I agree to be just completely slammed by the enemy jungler this entire early game, so my bot lane can exist. That's a lot to give bot lane in a meta that the bot lane focus is definitely not always there.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked up Ruler a lot. Perhaps it has something to do with that. I think Ruler Life is one of the best spot lanes we have right now, if not the best, especially with Life's improvements over the course of spring and summer. Guy definitely is quite a support player, as there's so much vision control around the Infernal Drink that's only now being cleared up by Peanut.
And while it's not Karma and multiple shielders in Ruler, like, you already know this is Ruler only. They've decided this game is all about Ruler, and everyone else is going to be some form of CC bot in front of him. That's a lot to index on against a team that plays through all lanes, Valdez. And old Griffin would take that inch and turn it into a mile. And they still may be able to do that here. They have a lot more damage threats than the enemy team. But we'll see how much stabilizing can be done. As Peanut's at least happy that he hasn't died and has held on to his summoners. He needs level 6 in order to actually make any lane plays at all.
He's just chilling, picking up the scraps of his jungle. It's really been the story for him. And I guess we should mention kind of what we were expecting from this series compared to the first one. In the first series, we talked about how it's a freaking sandbox. These guys, they pick in their draft to fight early. I mean, we saw Lee Sin, we saw Sun Jiao, we saw a bunch of other early picks and aggressive picks, whereas in this one, GenG versus the greatly reluctant fighters, we kind of know what to expect from this one. Maybe a bit more of a lull state to begin this game.
But hopefully it matches the apexes of hype that those previous matches did. Those were a lot of late game big plays, like 30 minutes plus is where these teams usually lift it off. Not in the first round robin, when GenG surprised them with the Volibear.
It's like the action movie versus the drama, you know, where it's like there's a big climax and build up to the amazing, you know, twist at the end, and there's a lot of suspense and stuff. Whereas in the action movie, you know, you go see one of the new Marvel movies and they start flying around and bombs blow up and you clap your hands together and you're having a good time.
So you're saying we went from a Avengers movie to Eternal Sunshine or something in this particular...
something like that.
That's a pretty good match day, actually. Something for everybody is what we're hoping for. As Peanut feels strong enough to walk up to the Drake. He gets out quickly.
That was a thick wall. Still able to make it out there. Even on top of the thick boar. But very mobile, this Sejuani. As now we're trying to set up for the bottom side. Let's see who they decide to go for. It's going to be Lehends. He's not all that tanky yet. as that was super easy to set up. Moby boots only for the Volibear means that even though he's a big bear, doesn't have much health.
I'm going to say this. I actually that's a really, really big mistake from Lehends because you saw Peanut jump over the wall. You also have entire spotting vision of all the paths he could have taken. Where the hell else is he if he's not there? There's no Krug camp up. Like, of course he's bot lane ganking. He entirely suicided his jungle path in order to help bot lane. I think that's actually a really, really big mistake from Lehends, and easy kill for Ruler, the person they're giving everything to in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Sejuani with ultimate up, trying to make plays around bot lane.
They have two control wards in a jungle.
And he's only got two options. Either he's ganking or he's backing. He's not backing. It's a Sejuani level 6 with ultimate, right? So I would agree with you. That was a bit of a mistake, but Griffin still somehow able to pick up this one. I guess the back timing from the side of the bottom side that doesn't have teleport means that you are going to give up some objectives. So Griffin saying, cool kill. I don't really care because I'm ahead on gold still and I just got an Infernal Drink.
Feels like this might be a means, end justifies the means game because Ruler's got 29 stacks left on his cull. He's had everything given to him. A lot of kill pressure with that sort of stacking CC. In Ruler we trust, the Ruler ending as they call it among the Korean fans, because of his reliability in the late game. And we should actually kind of pull back the curtains a little bit and talk about the Korean opinion on Viper. The biggest criticism of him as a player is that he hasn't been able to perform in the late game. Very strong laner, but has made some pretty high-profile mistakes getting caught or not being able to outplay in teamfights. Definitely not the sort of thing we would say about Ruler.
Ruler is the exact opposite, actually. It can be a World Finals Game 5, and he's like, yeah, I'm just going to pull off this MVP play and carry my team to the victory as if it was just a normal day on the Rift playing solo queue. That guy doesn't have, you know, nerves. He's got nerves of steel. And that's exactly who you want to build around, so I'll take your point on that one, as Chovy is definitely making his, you know, his way through this mid lane. He says, okay, nice safe pick there, buddy, but I'm not going to miss a single CS. He's at 140 at 12-16, and he's still dumpstering this very safe pick.
He got the counter pick, Valdez, and give Chovy a huge lead in terms of laning mechanics over the oldest mid laner in the LCK. Oldest starting mid laner was, of course, FLICKR, until FLICKR returned to the starting lineup. Gonna get some turret plates here. Could easily get two if he feels strong enough, and he probably should. Lane swap was enacted by Griffin in order to kind of try to penetrate the defenses that GenG was already trying to set up. And look at the CS leads here in all three lanes. Here's CuVee.
Oh, that was, yeah, Nico, as everything's going to go wide. Not sure about trying for that after CuVee missed his initial bind. But either way, they're going to spot Peanut down on the bottom side and start up this Rift Herald.
You need to see Griffin change their name. The GRF, Greatly Reluctant Fighters, can't happen here. It needs to be OEF, Overly Exuberant Fighters, on the side of Griffin, because the cost of getting Ruler everything he wanted was everyone else is literally broke. Everyone has pulled their money and given it to Ruler. Look at the CS lead. It's comical how much of a CS lead it is. It's only 9 CS now because of the movement, but 30 in mid, 30 in bot. There's a lot of CS advantage here for Griffin. They want to fight now. Team fight-wise, it's going to be a bit of a struggle as the game goes on. Much easier to execute for GenG. So because of that, it's nice to have winning lanes priority and early gold. If you don't use it, not so useful.
Chovy, easily the most fed guy on the Rift right now, even with only 1 kill. And that being to the side of GenG. He's picked up another couple of plates there. So 4 in total for him, plus he has 163 CS in this game. So he's just hitting the 6,000 gold mark. Having a grand old time in the mid lane.
Viper's already hit his... Oh, he hasn't actually. He's, I believe, a couple more Manamune autos away from hitting the 100 AD. You have to, I think, be around 300 or 400 on the mana charge in order to get it from just Pickaxe and the Manamune. But regardless, we'll have that very, very soon, and then the pick plays can start. And they've got a lot of physical damage to combo with Elise, so... Burst onto one member, catching people in rotation, and that's why the lane swap makes sense, is keep lane swapping until your items are ready, and then pick people when GenG try to react. Is what Griffin want to do in the immediate term.
Really really scary comp from Griffin as Peanut just going on in. That's a Cocoon that was reading Peanut going for a retreat, but he was actually moving forward. Some nice little movement there. Getting some vision down. You can see the point of interest here is this top turret as the rotations have already come in. No turrets down just yet, though, at 15 minutes into the game.
Who is the better cannon between Nico and Cannon? Right now it is Cannon. But obviously not going to be a lot of action here between the two.
LS was calling it Mew versus Mewtwo. He had the explanation of that one, but I guess you and I are not exactly the Pokemon people. We're definitely Chovy people in this game. He is just dunking mid lane right now. Trying to hit a super fast 200 CS and now just crested over 7,000 gold in 15 minutes.
What is the correct adjective for 40 CS win with no jungle attention and turret taking? Solo.
Solo? Is that the...
No, I'm just saying, like,
by
he
yourself?
certainly were banned him in the laning phase.
Okay, you poor guy. Face checking the brush when you got a bunch of people up top spotting and everybody's missing. And he will be punished for that one. Griffin with another win. There's a turret taken up in the top side by GenG, but another Drake is going to go the way of Griffin.
Anything you can do, I can do better, especially when you have a solo lead in mid lane. Only the team help was the charge from the Rift Herald. Everything else was Chovy created in this 1v1. Understand the Lissandra pick because you're in kind of difficult scenario, whatever you do against Chovy, but Chovy's found a great answer to it, and now, if Ly's not on his teleport, if he's not on with his target selection in a team fight, just gonna look super silly, Valdez, because the early audition for the MVP is all Chovy.
Absolutely, and if I'm looking at Fly's audition, I'm like, man, you should have auditioned for a different part.
Exactly, like it's it's the Steve Buscemi trying to be a young guy. It's like,
yeah,
no,
exactly.
you can't do that.
It just doesn't fit your personality.
Hello,
And,
fellow mid laners.
Remember me? I'm Lissandra.
Well, we hope she stays away. She's much more of a thwarting action rather than creating action champion. Theoretically, she can do both, but we know better.
She also needs something for her throat. I've noticed it's a little bit dry based on the sounds that are being made in that mid lane. Always a favorite of Twitch chat, no doubt. As, okay, trying to spot here. UB can be very obnoxious, just with checking and throwing out cues.
Oh, really?
Slowing people down.
Please point to the times when she is not obnoxious.
When you're ahead by 10,000 gold, yeah, that's when she really doesn't matter. She throws out her Q and you're like, well, you're dead. Or your 80 carry's dead.
I really want to see some bear on cat action, and specifically see
Whoa.
that interrupt on the W that you and me can be interrupted by the triumphant roar.
Yeah. Pretty sure that's legal for the stream. Is that okay for our audience? The bear on
Let's
cat
wait and
action?
see. Potentially not, but I'm hoping so.
Depends on how aggressive it gets, I guess. We also have a 4 looking to join the action
Roller's
here
some sort of
in the mid lane.
bird thing.
Yeah.
Desire.
There's a lot of different animals in this show.
2 Pokemon on the top side.
Yeah. No barrel in this
A
game.
spider. Ew. And then a dude in Jinx.
Yesterday I was really enjoying it when Beryl, I think he was playing Alistair or something. He just like went in 1v5 and died. I said in the chat, I said, Beryl, use tackle.
It wasn't very effective.
Yeah. The chat followed up with that one. They got that joke. Beryl's my favorite Pokemon from the whole LCK.
Oh, I wasn't in chat. I was too busy casting that game. Oh boy. And it's like how Jace is a dude watching on as all these random animals doing stuff. He's like, I don't know, I'm just winning lane, whatever.
You know, very classy guy. He's got a cool haircut and a big weapon, of course. I don't know anything about the lore, so, you know, it's
He's the man of tomorrow or something, right?
The man of tomorrow?
Yeah, he's got something to do with the future. And I know that on the English
It's like
voiceover, a lot of
Captain Summoner's Rift or something like that.
he's kind of like Captain America, I guess, but the other way. Well, I mean, it's the past comes to the future. Yeah, sure. Fine.
Is he from the past? Or is he from the future?
See, I don't know the lore. I just know that he's all about the future. So I imagine
Probably
he's
from
either
the future.
planning for the future or coming back.
Okay.
And maybe he wants to go back to the future. I don't know.
Yeah, it could happen. I've seen people attempt that before.
How fast do they go?
Pretty fast. What, do you know, like, the exact number that they had to go or something? Like,
It's a Back to the Future.
oh, yeah, well, I thought you knew the number or something.
Over 9,000, right?
Oh, what?
900? I always forget.
Over 9,000? I didn't watch that anime.
You've tilted a lot of people with that comment. That's for sure.
Yeah.
As Griffin, they're still reluctant about the fighting. That's about parts for sure. And they haven't blown open the game. They also don't have Do Baron fast Drakes. So there's no guarantee this isn't going to turn into a ruler team fight victory, Valdez.
Yeah. I mean, they're certainly opening the door for it. Ruler did take a bunch of damage. Lehends thinking about it here. He is level 8. How is he so... What happened?
Well, he didn't have much fun in the laning phase. And roamed, and I
Yumi's
agree.
level 10. Viper's 4 levels up on his support. How does that even happen? Where has he been? I guess he was hibernating for the winter, right? Because he's a bear, you know. I get it. Yeah.
Well, he has more gold than the Yumi, which is actually very unlikely. That's also surprising. How could you possibly have more gold with relic procs compared to Yumi's kit? She abuses the gold item so hard. I guess they've been super defensive in lane and not been looking for any prowling projectiles. The huge gold lead in mid. It's actually disgusting between Chovy and Fire. And yet all of this might not matter if Xayah hits the right item point.
Yeah. You know, you get one kill, you get the Frozen Thralls out, you let Xayah do her thing. You can definitely still see a team fight. Even down this amount of gold for GenG, where they do come back and win a couple of fights. Especially Lehends. I mean, this guy is not tanky at all. Like he can engage, but he's got no resist, right? He's got the one support item, a bunch of health. He's really fast, but it's basically just like you know, it's like a kamikaze. You're going in, and you're dead, and that's just about it. So, I mean, there's a lot of damage on the side of GenG. They have some great kiting potential as well. He's got to be really careful about the angle he takes when he does engage.
GenG know their role. It's waiting and looking for a mistake. Waiting and being able to fight at 3 items on Xayah. Remember, there is no Ardent Sensor to allow him to cheat the item curve this time for Ruler. So because of that, it's the greatly reluctant fighters needing to find objectives to snowball the game and a Baron to potentially really speed up the game. And it's GenG saying, well, made some mistakes in the early game. In grouping phases, unless Ruler is free hitting, we have huge gold advantage. 3,000 gold lead for the Jace. It's a gold lead for the Cannon as well. They've got the inferior tools for now, but they know they're building towards something, GenG. It's just, can Griffin get enough objectives before that point comes?
Well, Griffin is no sandbox. They're not just going to run their face into the Baron and then have a great pull-off and a good team fight or anything like that. They're just not going to start it unless they're absolutely certain. They're the team to get the pick first and then just go on in. And even then, maybe take it slow around the Baron.
You not very often see this build from Doran. He's gone Rage Blade, play the Ruin King against another AD champion. Usually this is in the tank matchups, right? Blow up a GB or a true tank. He gets Space Tech, does a lot of damage. Here's the Baron start from Griffin. They're trying something, Valdez, to their credit.
Yeah. I said they wouldn't do it, and I guess they were listening.
Well, if you notice, GenG is also very much saying you would, and taking their time and being respectful. There is no kind of suicide into the Baron play like we saw from FLICKR in game number 3.
You know who's awesome at checking Barons too is Sejuani. I mean, you're such a thick tank. You go in there, you can dash away. Unless you get flashed on, you can flash yourself. You know.
And the moment your passive is gone down, you're just queuing away. Speaking of going away, interrupt from Fly. He might be dead.
Okay, going to take a bunch of damage here, so going to be forced to ultimate. And that's Lysandra for you.
Didn't have enough ward coverage to cleanse, get the kill there. I think there was kill potential from Chovy, but there's defensive control wards, so wasn't going to chase that one down as hard as he could have. Do they go straight back to the Baron, though, Griffin?
Good question. They do have a nice amount of Baron damage. Fiddleese is pretty good, and Jason Kaisa need no mention.
Xayah is 1,400 gold away from maybe being ready for that team fight. Will Griffin have found anything other than a third Ocean Drake? This is so punishing. It's almost right saying, come on, do it. Get in there. You can't just have Drakes and win. No high roll for you.
Well, they've got one more opportunity. You have to imagine if they can pick up that Ocean Drake here. As, yeah, these teams don't really like to fight. They just sit back, and GenG, or rather Griffin, is one of the safest teams that we do have in here. Even Chovy was like, no, I can't clear out that control ward. As apparently he surfs on his weapon.
450 gold bounty for 001, Jace.
That's when you know you're doing something right in this system.
Flame Horizon's inevitable at this point, given how gold is being funneled onto Ruler. Feels like Lysandre's taking the bad end of every lane assignment. You're safe, but you're definitely going to have very few items. Peanut's chilling. He's now a ward. He's a ward so that Zaya can farm.
It's a big ward. And he actually got spotted there by Doran, so that ward is going to have to reposition itself. Perhaps over here on the left side.
Must be a level 1 Sejuani.
Takes a while to get that ultimate. Okay, well, what I was talking about, you can see that Bear is not that tanky. That was just a little bit of damage, just a tiny bit of poke from Sejuani and the Yuumi, of course.
Release a lot of pressure. Now the Volibear doesn't have that flash Q play that we always trumpet every time we see the support Volibear come in, and the level lead is still there. So yeah, not too much to comment on the game because it is very, very slow here, which gives us the thought that GenG will be able to find a team fight they can win. If they lose Baron control, Baron could still be the big turn here. Griffin really need to claim it. That's what they need, is to get the Baron, to stop this just being about one team fight against Sejuani and Isaiah fighting front to back. But, as it stands, we might as well start talking about other things, because the action's not there.
Wow.
Peanut's on a ward, so this could be something, but best of luck blowing up a Sejuani.
Yeah. Right now, I was actually looking at an interesting stat earlier. Of champions that have above 10 games played, Sejuani has the highest win rate. It also has the highest presence currently in the LCK Summer.
But
win
this
rate
is not the sort of game where that happens, though, Valdez, because it's no synergy with Sejuani, no threat of a Camille, Aurelia, all those champions we saw, as there will be another Infernal spawning. Griffin's on the Baron. Okay, here we go. We're trying it again. It's at 10,000.
They have a nice amount of damage. That teleport, though, from the Lysandre so far away, and Peanut just gets blown up. As he was pretty good at checking, but I guess Lehends was quicker there to get on top of him. Let's see what Ruler can do. We got a TP coming in, as it is going to go the way of Griffin here. Fly not able to do much, just immediately gets bursted down. Doran with the nice stuns to follow up here as GenG are just gonna get ripped to shreds. Viper going in, flashes the feathers, and will pick down another kill.
It took 27 minutes, but Griffin have done it. Starting the Baron, they still get the bonus kills on the end. Big mistake from GenG to try to contest as they did. Peanut is alone. Look who's in base. Everyone has to get back, and remember, no TP on the members here, so that means that right now they have to walk up. They have to give up this Baron. I think it's a big mistake for them to try to face check as they do. There's so much poke damage. They come in with no idea of their health total on the Baron. It's just bonus kills for Griffin. Could have just been in a Baron, and one kill ends up being way more.
I like Viper's audacity to go in there, say, yeah, I can take it down, I can flash, and get another kill for my team, as now the game is blown wide open. We were at about 4,000 or 5,000 gold lead, now it's 10,000. And the mid and AD carry rolls very heavily sided to the side of Griffin.
It was Flame Horizon for Jace just a moment ago as well, 340 to 240. Simon picked up a few CS afterwards, and this is what happens if you can make the game about the Baron. The moment the Baron goes down, it doesn't really matter how many items Ruler has. You can't fight against this many threats on the side of Griffin. So really that one play around Baron, the second time they started it up, might just be the reason this game is straight up over, Valdez.
It might just come down to that. We were getting close to the, we've had games where we've had 1 kill a minute, especially in other seasons. We've had games where we've had, a lot of kills, but we were getting close to 2 kills in 30 minutes.
Oh.
I was kind of sad we didn't hit that marker, as now at 30 minutes we actually have 6 kills, so 2 every 10 minutes there.
Look, we hyped up 2 series and 50% ain't bad, you know?
Well,
And it comes back to the early game plan of everything for Ruler, everything for Ruler. That's all they had. And to, again, come back to the Sejuani point, I hate these drafts in Summer Season that we see very rarely in Crazy and other regions more commonly, double range with Sejuani, because she can't do anything in those lanes. So easy to flash her ultimate, and there's no threat because the permafrost is not going to be applied 4 times by the Sejuani, so you're never going to get the CC in. Unfortunately, it kind of said, all right, Ruler gets some gold, but meanwhile, mid lane was on fire. Top lane was a bit of a wash, but Tarzan had a little bit more pressure around there, and then all neutrals go the way of Griffin, as you'd expect, given that mid lane was basically a void for Chovy to do whatever he wants.
Guy's just had his run of the mid lane right now, just having a ball. As the push should end here soon, but it is a massive gold lead. 12,000 for the side of Griffin. Nobody on the side of GenG has really been able to get anything going. If they want a chance at coming back in this one, they gotta not take that chunk of damage, but also they need to wait about another 10-15 minutes.
60,000 gold for Griffin. If GenG gets there, which seems almost impossible, maybe, just maybe, they can get back in. We see a Medjai's completed by Life.
The dream!
If they lose the next team fight, they lose the game.
Yeah.
So at least it means they have more effective gold than before. It's kind of like Snowboy and some Draven gold if they win the fight. But obviously it looks very sad given the game at the moment. GenG needs 60k gold, but they're not going to get a loan from Griffin. Griffin can afford to loan them some gold, but it can't afford to loan them any game wins, given how close the race for top 5 is in the LCK Summer.
Absolutely. They're going to do the Griffin thing and slowly close this one out. Wouldn't be surprised if we wait for the Infernal, wait for that Baron to spawn at about 1:30. It's like sailing down the river in a canoe or something like that.
And we're seeing a return of this fun build Atlas and I saw yesterday. Viper has gone the AP Kai'Sa side. They have Jace as well. Their siege is actually immense with just those two because you can't itemize against a fat stack of AP harass. Remember, when you get the W evolved, the cooldown is really short. I'm spamming that down. The EQ, not too short, but not too long either. 467 AD. We got that on the overlay here. They're going to roll up to a turret, and GenG's got about a half second to engage. Otherwise, their health bars are gone.
I like the zoom in there. Thanks, Jonas Strong. And
oh, that would have hurt.
Yeah.
That would have been maybe 30% health maximum.
Yeah. He does have some lifesteal now, so it does mean that, a couple of hits, but as long as there's something to lifesteal off of, it's not like he'll enter a fight with, half his health down or something like that. I think he got hit by that, actually, as he was just at full health. So, Ruler making the correct items. Also has a Yumi on his back.
Seems like it's going to matter, though, Valdez. I think Ruler will be the 1-2-0 scenario here. I find it very difficult to be the reason the game is won. That being said, that's one.
How many times is he going to get hit by that?
12,000 gold lead still. 60,000 for GenG, and again, it starts to be a bit of a wash, just given how champions get. I know. 3.5 of them kill him. So
now Peanut's blocking him. It's like, this isn't fair. But again, if he has something to lifesteal on, doesn't mean he can't survive, but flying, not the same.
No one can tank an EQ and a W from Kai'Sa twice. Everybody dies.
Already got picture-in-picture here.
Yep, the split push as they go the Baron, and GenG say, well, we've been thoroughly poked, and they give the Baron. They have to. There's no way for them to get in here.
Ping on the bottom side, too. They know that they're down as Baron is going to be given over to Griffin here.
Was it worth suiciding and hoping for the best is kind of an interesting thing to consider. Just because, do you ever repel this Baron buff siege comp with Baron? Probably not. There's probably no ability to stop this.
it's really a matter of percentages. It's like, should we take the 1% or should we take the 0.5%? And you're not really... I guess at that point it's like, maybe if we get a pick onto the cannon, which is also another very low percentage play, we can, maybe delay 50 seconds of the Baron push and perhaps, only lose 2 inhibitors instead of 3? Something like that. I'm just trying to think of, like, best case scenario out of the decision they chose.
I guess you look at it and you're like, maybe they mess up the dive, but then you're against QSS, Zhonya's, and Elise just ability to repel. Maybe you can kill Jace on a dive, but why would he lead with his face? I think it's pretty unrealistic, but I guess they assume they'd be poked out before they even got to the Baron, so as you're saying, 2 crummy decisions, and they cast their lot, and their lot is, let's try and fight on our terms, and maybe Chovy can stop that though. He's actually crept around.
Peanut with the read, he's being scanned and knows that he can get away. Oh! Okay, that was over 50% as he's looking for it. Oh, he gets sniped! Oh no! Viper from downtown gonna take him out. That was 3 abilities. As Doran, trying to go 1v1, is nearly able to there. Flash coming in from Fly as he's desperately trying to do what he can, but he absolutely cannot do anything. Griffin will be able to take this game 1, most likely on this push.
We would have understood if Raul had just paused and said, really? Really? But the death recap will tell him it. The death recap is for his entire team. Griffin's going to close it here.
Yeah, pushing in. Let's add to our KDA, says Griffin, as a very slow and steady pace to game 1. But a win is a win, and Griffin will pick that one up today.
And if any team knows that slow and steady wins the race, it would be GenG. So all Griffin can say is, we were never in doubt of losing game number 1. They played it slow, but they were ahead. We wondered when the moment would come, but the first Baron ended up truly being the door closing onto GenG in such an important match. Remember, Griffin have 4 matches to play, and there is only 6 match days left after today. They want to start it strong, and a 2-0 over GenG would have big effect on the playoff standings.
Absolutely. That shiny sign we just saw says Chovy carry, and I'd have to argue that he did exactly that in game number 1, even though it wasn't necessarily through getting a bunch of kills or anything like that. The guy just lane kingdom in mid lane, and he got the counter pick, as you said. Fly was showing a little bit of...
Old Fly.
Yeah, old Fly.
That's what happened in Spring so often, right?
Me, yeah.
He would try to play the safe champions, and then someone would outskill him. That's literally what happened there.
Yeah, we're going to have to bring back New Fly, or maybe even Roach into the mid lane.
Doran hard carry is this particular cause. That's another Pokemon, I believe, on screen.
Yeah.
Holy crap, 0.9, no!
Oh! Below 1,000!
No!
Oh!
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We need to clean up on this scoreboard, please. Can we please change
take
it?
this away.
Wait. He did more damage than the entire team.
Yeah.
Jace did more damage than a team!
And it's much more. It's like 4,000 more.
Oh, it's disgraceful.
5,000. Oh, that's a really small bar there from Sejuani.
God.
Well,
can we censor this, please?
Yeah.
All right, put the R18 on the top of the screen. Oh my God. Well, they got wabammed.
He got the gank in the bottom lane, and that was like probably almost all of the damage that he did in the game. Other than that, he was kind of standing around and being a ward. So hopefully Peanut can have a little bit more. It's not all his fault. The team didn't do much as they got pummeled by Griffin in that game. It was very one-sided in a different way to what we saw in the first series.
That was a graph.
We had a graph. We had a moment, guys. Thank you for being with us for that one. But yeah, GenG going to have to turn it around here for game number 2, and maybe we're going to have to shelve the glacials for game number 2. We'll be back after this break.